So I'm here today with Cripple Creek Backcountry to talk about the new TX Pro from Scarpa. And I'm here with Luke Demuth to add a little credibility to my utter pathetic knee dropping that I've done in the past 10 years. Since I was on the original TX Pro.
Mm-hmm.
When did that come out, Luke?
The original TX Pro?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to be 10,
probably 14 years ago.
15 years ago, something like that.
I bet 14 years ago is when we saw the Bumblebee color. Luke's a patroller here at Aspen Highlands. We've done a little bit of rangering up on Denali.
A little bit. Volunteer ranger. And,
yeah.
Always in Tele. So.
And then we're like the ski partners that have never been. So
yeah.
Thanks for coming on, and more importantly, thanks for trying out the TX Pro last year. I'll preface it a little bit. We got one proto that we bagged from Scarpa. Luke begged to try it, and all we could do is get you one size too small. And that was the 26.5?
27.
Okay.
Normally the 27.5. Yeah.
Same shell size as the 26.5.
Yeah.
And what did you think?
I loved it. It was like, obviously a little tight. Cramped the toes a bit, but I was able to wear it for, I think, almost 3 weeks up at Highlands, day in, day out working. And
I didn't know you put it through that much paces there.
I think so.
Yeah. You couldn't take them off.
No, it was hard.
And then it messed up your season for the rest of the year?
Nah, it's still a Tele boot.
Well, downsizing a Tele boot that aggressively is tough. I'll speak a little bit to the fit. I actually generally downsize my boots to a 26.5, 27 in all Scarpa AT boots in the old TX Pro just to get a little more performance. I think the fit for this is a little bit shorter for sure. When I tried it on, one of the reasons I wasn't man enough to test it was because my toes were like pretty slammed up against the front. Yeah. I wear about a 11.5 street shoe just to give you an idea of how tight I like my boots. What's your street shoe normally?
I'm usually like a 10.5.
Yeah. And so you would not downsize this.
There's no way I would downsize.
Okay.
Even with like blowing out the liner and everything, I wouldn't downsize.
And they did make the actual boot sole length, about half a centimeter shorter than the old TX Pro.
Yeah.
So it still has the same size break as the old boot. It'll be right around 26.5, 27 gets you into a large Outlaw, a large, Rotterfellow binding, but smaller than that, a 26, 25.5. You're going to be into smaller. So that's a little about the fit. I still felt like the toe box was pretty wide. If you're in the correct size, is that about what you thought?
Yeah, it was a little wide, but I do think like in this boot, I was able to have a little bit snugger fit, and I didn't have to use like a custom footbed on this. I was able to go with my stock footbeds, and even trying on the proper size that you've got there, the 27.5. I don't think I changed footbeds out for anything, and the toe box was nice and snug. So
it's just a little bit about fit. You're still getting a very comfy, burly Intuition liner. Scarpa sources for all their boots. Super heat moldable. Did we ever mold them to your feet?
We did for like about halfway through or so.
Yeah, just to try to get through a little extra testing.
Get a little extra toe room in there and let me ski them a little more comfortably. Made a difference for sure.
So going back to the Bumblebee color that then went to the orange Bumblebee color that then went to kind of like the red and blue version that we've seen, that did span, I want to say, it was really the first real AT boot I was ever in, AT Tele boot. And the reason I did it was because there was the heel tech insert.
Right.
And I could get, in my full ski bum days, one boot to both NT and Tele on and Tour on. That went away probably about 7 years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Yeah, 5 or 7 years ago for sure.
And what do you think about that?
I was like personally a little bummed to see the heel piece and the tech insert go away. Mostly for bigger like high alpine missions, big remote stuff that if you do break your Tele binding, I have a pair of skis that I've got a tech heel I can spin, clip in and actually ski alpine. So it's bummed to see that go away, but I think as far as the boots and the new bindings and stuff go, like everything's pretty bomber and pretty reliable. So.
Well, let's talk about ski performance a little bit. What did you think starting with the bellows?
Bellows are, my initial impressions were that they were actually pretty stiff and stiffer than the original, the TX Pros. Having skied on them for couple weeks, they did soften up a fair bit. I would say overall they're a little softer than the old version of the TX Pros.
Once they're fully broken in.
Yeah, once they're broken in.
And so they start a little bit stiffer, so
Yeah.
don't be alarmed if your first few turns on it. It's tough to really flex the boot.
Yeah,
It gets
for
better
sure.
once you break them in.
Yeah, like anything good. You know, the more you wear it and use it, the more it kind of breaks in and will ski to your style too.
So what's your style of skiing? Tele skiing normally, are you pretty upright or do you still like to get low?
I try to get pretty low. That said, like ski patrol and working all day, every day in tele gear, like, yeah, I take my fair share of like more upright turns, but yeah, in general, I classify myself as like a pretty hard tele skier and
Yeah.
pretty hard on gear.
And you had no problem dropping the knee all the way. I know that's probably the question we get most commonly when people are switching to like an NTN boot.
Yeah.
They're worried they're not going to be able to get close enough to the snow.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like, bellows are a little stiff to start out. After that break-in period, I was still able to ski Dina ski if I wanted to. You can get down low and actually rip
Awesome.
as much as you want.
What'd you think of the torsional stiffness of it?
Yeah, boot cuff and torsional stiffness, quite a bit stiffer than the old TX Pros. I was stoked to have that, especially for like a daily driver that I'm working in all conditions and like skiing with toboggans and patients and things like huge upgrade from the last boot.
Great. So even though we're dropping some weight, and we'll get into the raw specs at the end,
Yeah,
but we're dropping some weight, but you think a general ski performance boost?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess, what do we think of the touring? I mean, obviously we were just both walking around in the boot in the shop. Massive improvement from where it was.
Yeah, the touring and range of motion is absurd. Yeah, it goes back to like what the Maestrale maybe is now on most of the AT boots, and that's maybe the only AT boot I know. But easy to tour in, easy to engage, and the range of motion is huge. Like you can take big strides and really cover some ground. And actually,
Yeah. They listed at 62-degree range of motion, which is on par with even very light AT boots.
yeah.
I'm not totally sure what the original was listed at. Whatever they claimed, I would guess about half that. So I would give it about 31-degree range of motion.
Yeah, I'd honestly say it felt like double or more.
Yeah.
Just as far as like the weight difference and then the ability to actually tour and get a full stride out of it.
This walk to ski mode is taken off their newest version of the AT boot. Scarpa's gone back and forth with probably a dozen walk modes in the last dozen years. I think they settled on a pretty good one here. What did you find with the old TX Pro walk mode?
Yeah, the old TX Pro Walkman it's got that little plastic lever. It's prone to breaking and catching on rocks or anything really. Cold weather and even flipping it up, it'd get jammed up and you'd break that little plastic lever and then you'd kind of be stuck in ski mode. And this one, I was stoked to see that you've got like an actual metal kind of forged walk mode that's going to be more durable. And, you can put it through the paces and it's going to hold up.
And for a while, we were internalizing the walk mode on it. And that's when the idea was to keep ice and snow buildup away from the walk mode. I think what almost every boot manufacturer has settled on is this external walk mode where there's the groove that it fits into. Even though you risk the chance of like an ice buildup there, at least you have access to it.
Yeah.
When before, the mechanisms were all hidden up underneath there. And if it was frozen up for the day, that was the deal. You were just stuck in walk mode.
Yeah, you're kind of hosed.
Yeah, and especially if you break the lever. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge boost. A few things, 62-degree range of motion on the back. There's 3 positions for forward lean, which I think are at about like 12, 14, 16.
Yeah, I can't speak to that so much.
Did you just throw it in the middle position or the one it came in?
I left it with however it came.
Yeah, I think it
Because
comes in the 14-degree.
Yeah.
So it's nice because a lot of, as boots get lighter, they start to remove features like that. The really cool part about it is all you do to adjust it is loosen these 2 screws on the back, flex forward if you want more forward lean, and then tighten it down in that position. Or stand straight upright, tighten down in that position. So pretty easy home adjust.
Super easy.
I think that's a great part of it. Anything noticeable about the buckles for you?
Yeah, 3-buckle boot, right? So you're dropping one buckle from the old TX Pro with a bit bigger strap up top, and yeah, buckles to me seem quite a bit easier to manipulate and a fair bit lighter, and hopefully a better design for the day-to-day work that I'm doing as well.
Yeah, and I think with that they've still kept like the classic like instep strap that like pulls your heel back.
Yeah,
that's kind of how they can get away with slimming this down. I do think the power strap, we're seeing this more and more, 3 buckles with a burlier static power strap instead of the old dynamic ones. When you flex and you'd really feel it stretch a little bit. This is static sewn through, so it really does act as a pretty big cuff buckle. I do think, certainly compared to the TX Comp, which has been discontinued for I think like 2 years now, it's definitely a lower cuff.
it is.
We are kind of speculating. If I think as well supported as this boot is, if we see good sales, globally on this boot, Scarpa is going to reinvest, and we're speculating. Hopefully, we see a burlier version years to come. But as far as I know, that's at least 2 years away.
Yeah, and like for right now, I'd say like this is a great boot for daily driver. I think if you're trying to drive a ski that's like 125, 130 underfoot every single day, especially on like hard pack and stuff, like that's not the boot designed for that, but no boot is.
Right.
So yeah, as far as like boots go and the new technology with it, I think it's killer. The one thing I would point out on that instep buckle that we're talking about is the ability to like easily replace the instep buckle in the strap there.
Yeah, just with an Allen key.
Yeah, just a quick Allen key. You can get it out, whereas before you used to have to like pull this other boot out, bolt out, and then like drill it out usually because it'd be seized up in there.
Yeah.
Turn into a pain in the ass, and this one's a really quick, easy fix.
Also well labeled on the boot is a replaceable, lug for when you're rubbing skis into boots and boots into boots.
Yeah.
That was always, even on probably the one you're working with there, you start seeing wear after a bit, and that can, retire a pair of boots.
Yeah.
So there's a good stop there, protects the bells a little bit. I guess, what would your concerns for the boot be?
Yeah, to be honest, like the big concerns would be durability over the long term. I don't know anybody that skied them for more than a season.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on them for 2 or 3 weeks, and I think they held up great as daily drivers and stuff. But if somebody's putting a season or 2 in there, and we'll just kind of see how they hold up over time. But Scarpa's got a good reputation, and I think the products they've got kind of meet the test across the board. So
yeah, and that's what I would say is sometimes when we see like a revolutionary like new plastic layup, it can be a little dicey if they get that mix just wrong. Boots can be pretty brittle, and we've seen cracks in the past. The nice part about this boot is it borrows this similar plastic and layup from a whole line of AT boots that have been in service.
right,
So there's nothing like unexpected. The only thing that I'm like cued in on is the bellows itself, because that's tends to be what retires every tele boot.
yeah,
Is when that goes, it's time to go. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I think it's really fair whenever a boot is brand new to be worried about durability, because again, like the product testers that usually get this, like Luke has, I don't know, you probably have 3 or 4 pairs of boots in service that you're rotating through. So, most of the testing and reviews you'll see are kind of based on, I think like 20 hard days of skiing is an admirable amount to squeeze that in the short time we gave it to you. That's part of being on the boots every day. I'm trying to think what other features we can talk about. They've still gone with the vibrant sole. That's going to be great for rocks and hikes. And then as far as the cuff pivots go, they are removable with, I think it's a T20 star bit, but they are not alignable or, as you say, canted.
yeah.
So you're kind of stuck in the position that Scarpa. What was it with the old boot? Did they have that?
Yeah, the old boot, they have it. There's like a little mechanism you can spin in there and adjust the canting on. I found that to be more of a trivial kind of feature on the old boot anyways, and I never noticed a difference no matter how much you messed with it. So it's kind of good to see that like go away and kind of just simplify and have a good solid boot that's built to be skied.
And of course, we do have the front tech fits, even if it's still missing the back. I believe they removed the back, not because of any like known problems, but it just got to be a liability as more people were using it as an AT boot.
Yeah.
You also had to use it with a shim under the foot to keep it from flexing, or else it got pretty sloppy if it was a true AT boot. But you will be able to use it with all the Teletext systems out there. Volet's got one.
Yeah.
You know, you use the Lynx.
I'm on the Lynx, and then there's the Meijo, and you know, all those are compatible and work well. And I've skied the Meijo with this boot as well. And I will say this is by and far a huge upgrade for backcountry touring and actually getting out off piste and skiing.
Well, let's talk about what everybody really wants to say is the biggest. We're hoping the biggest advancement in this is a stiffer boot and a lighter package, but everyone wants to know about the weight. I think the old boot in a 26.5, which was the version that you tested, was right around like 1,700 grams. And
right.
the new boot, we just weighed it on the scale here, 1,535, I believe. And that when we looked at the size up in a 27.5.
Yeah.
And that was, what was it?
I don't know.
I'll tell you right now.
Right on the scale.
To give you an idea, that's about a 15% weight saving over the old version. So we were just comparing it to some of the AT boots, so 1622 and a 27.5 28 shell. We were comparing it to one of the new like lightweight Technica AT boots that came out, and it's still going to be a couple hundred grams heavier than that. But it's like a really important step in the right direction. This boot, like I killed to be in the yellow boot even for just an AT, because at the time it had a great range of motion and was just really in need of an upgrade. So losing about 15% weight is what really allows this to be that, you know, quiver one boot that we were talking about, something you can push in the resort, but something you're not going to mind hiking on the ridge with or doing a long tour.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say first thing I noticed when I put the boot on was how much lighter it was compared to my other boots. It was night and day, and like I won't go back to an old style boot at all. So these are my new boots going forward, and yeah, I can't wait to put a whole season on them, and probably get another pair next year too.
That's an unexpected full endorsement from Luke Demuth.
Yeah,
it's Ski Patrol.
Usually like a total dirtbag and like maybe on the cheaper end of things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean it's well worth every penny for this boot, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy a pair. So.
Well, let us know if you have any questions about the boots in the comments. And Luke, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.